25 sitting on 25 mil. I'm in the building and I'm feeling myself. Rest in peace, Mac Dre. I'ma do it for the bay, okay? Getting paid, we'll holler whenever that stop. My team good, we don't really need a mascot. Tell tune light one, pass it like a relay. YMCMB, you more YMCA. Me, Franny, and Molly Mall at the cribbo. Shot goes out to Nico J and Chubb, shot to Gibbo. We got Santa Margarita by the leader. She know even if I'm fucking with her, I don't really need her. Oh, that's how you feel, man, that's really how you feel. Cause the pimpin' nice cold, all these just wanna chill. I mean, maybe she won't, then again, maybe she will. I can almost guarantee she know the deal, real nigga. Now she want a photo, you already know though. You only live once, that's the motto, nigga, YOLO. And we bout it every day, every day, every day. Like we sitting on the bench, but we don't really play every day, every day. What anybody say, can't see him cause the money in the way, real way, real way, real way, real way, real way. I know you can't tie me down, but you can whip your lovin' on me, baby. Whip your lovin' on me, baby.
I'm vanilla, baby, but I ain't no baby. She 28, telling me I'm still a baby. I get love in Detroit like Skillet, baby. And the thing about your boy is I don't like no thing you can't tie me down, but you can whip your lovin' on me. That's right, whip your lovin' on me. Young J-A-C-K-A-K-A Rico like Suave, young Enrique speaking at AKA. She's an alpha but not around your boy. She get quiet around your boy. Hold on, don't know what you heard or what you thought about your boy, but they lied about your boy. Going dumb and it's something idiotic about your boy. She wearing cheetah print, that's how bad she won't be spotted around your boy.
I know you can't tie me down, but you can whip your lovin' on me, baby. Whip your lovin' on me.
I'm vanilla, baby, but I ain't no baby. She 28, telling me I'm still a baby. I get love in Detroit like Skillet, baby. And the thing about your
Talking about a movie, no.
who you do, 'cause karma comes back around. Same old song, no. But I was so sure that it wouldn't happen to me, 'cause I know how to put it down. But I was so wrong. This girl with me, she really turned me out. Body was so tight, looking for her in the daytime with the flashlight. Yeah. She's cramping my style. I can't figure it out. I'm so got me feeling it. I don't know what it is, but it seems she's got me twisted. So got me feeling it. I'm losing control. This girl's got a hold. I'm so really feeling it. I don't know what it is, but it seems she got me twisted. I'm so really feeling it. I'm losing control. This girl's got a hold on.
The princess is here. This beat is
Automatic, supersonic, hypnotic, funky, fresh. With my body so melodic, this beat rolls right through my chest. Everybody, Martin, Poppy came to party. Grab somebody, work your body, let me see you 1, 2, step. Rock it, don't stop it. Everybody get on the floor. Crank the party up, we about to get it on. Let me see you 1, 2, step. I love it when you 1, 2, step. Everybody 1, 2, step. Let's get it on. Outrageous, so contagious, make you crave it. Jazzy made it. So retarded, top charted. Ever since the day I started, strip my stuff and yes I flaunt it. Goodies make the boys jump on it. No, I can't control myself now. Let me do my 1, 2, step. Rock it, don't stop it. Everybody get on the floor. Crank the party up, we about to get it on. Let me see you 1, 2, step. I love it when you 1, 2, step. Everybody 1, 2, step. We about to get it on. It don't matter to me, we can dance slow. Whichever way the beat drop, our bodies will flow. So swing it over here, Mr. DJ, and we will rock you. It don't matter to me, we can dance just slow. Whichever way the beat drop, our bodies will go. So swing it over here, Mr. DJ, and we will rock you. I shake it like Jello, make the boys say hello, 'cause they know I'm rocking the beat. I know you heard about a lot of great MCs, but they ain't got nothing on me. Because I'm 5 for 2, I wanna dance with you, and I'm sophisticated fun. I eat filet mignon, and I'm nice and young. Best believe I'm number 1.
I feel like falling in love. I'm in the mood to roll something up. I need some drink in my cup. Hey, I'm in the mood to pour something up. I wanna go missing. I need a prescription. I wanna go higher. Can I sit on top of you? I wanna go where nobody's been. Have you ever had fun like this? We gon' roll up tonight. Black lights, spaceships fly.
1, 2, 2, 1, 2.
When we pull up tonight. Roll it up tonight.
Check, check.
We getting pulled up tonight.
Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Let you see stars. Let you elevate. Let you be God. 'Cause I feel like falling in love. I'm in the mood to put something up. 'Cause we gon' pull up tonight. What's in these 4 walls? Sexy, my love. Don't miss this roll call. Did you hear a word? Show up, show up, show up, show up. Go up, go up, go up. You Mr. Nasty, I clean it up. Go where nobody's been. Go where nobody's been. Have you ever had fun like this? I wanna go missing. I need a prescription.
1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2.
Gonna sit on top of you. We gon' roll up tonight. Roll it up, black lights. Spaceships fly.
1, 2, 1, 2. Check, 2.
Unapologetic when we pull up tonight. Roll it up tonight. We getting pulled up tonight.
a mighty long way. That's why we love you. Come on.
My enemies tried to come for me, and they thought that my world was coming to an end. All the while you knew that I would make it through. I feel closer to you now than when I first began.
Hallelujah.
Jesus, you are. Jesus, you are.
Jesus, you are. You are Jesus.
You are my sunlight after the rain. Wherever you are,
I wanna.
I just wanna be near you. I'm so glad I can hear you watching me.
Come on.
I realize nothing is funny.
Blessing, Father.
Change, no one can keep me away.
Don't you know that? Oh,
I realize nothing else will satisfy me. Change, no one can keep me away.
here we go now. Here we go now. Don't stop now. Let's go now. In the front now. In the back now. Let's go now. Ladies. That's for the struggle. That's for the pain.
Good morning, good morning. Good morning, Livingstone. Welcome to the Great Debate HBCU Tour, which is now here at Livingstone College with the debate between Hampton and Howard University, the battle of the HUs. Let's give everyone in the room a round of applause. At all of our debates, we always open and close in prayer. So I'd like to bring up a staff here at Livingstone College. She's a student counselor here. Her name is Rhonda Flowers Copering. Let's bring her up as she opens us up in prayer. Will everyone please stand?
Gracious God, our Heavenly Father, we thank you now. God, we thank you for being our God. And even beyond that, God, we thank you for being a great God. God, we know that we stand on the shoulders today of many people who have gone before us that make such an opportunity as this possible. So, God, we thank you for where your word declares that wisdom is a principal thing. And that we should get wisdom, but in all of our getting, that we should get understanding. God, so we thank you for this time to come together and to reason and to discuss. God, we thank you for the influence of the discussion that we have today, and even the revelation, God, that you'll give even in that very moment. Bless us and keep us. Bless everyone that is here on this morning. God, that those that are on the way, God, and even as we leave to return back to our destinations, be our God and be with us. God, even in the moment while we're here on this day, show yourself mighty and favorable. It is in Jesus' name I pray now, God, and I thank you. Amen.
Hold up, please stand. We are now going to have the Black National Anthem video played. If everyone could please stand. be seated. You all may be seated. Next, we are going to bring up this dynamic president of Livingstone College. He and I grew up together, and he is shocking this nation and making noise all across this country, and Livingstone College is ringing bells all over America. We'd like to thank this, definitely give him a round of applause. I'd now like to call him up to the stage to give greetings to each and every one of you. Let's give a well-deserved round of applause to Dr. Anthony Davis.
Good morning. Good morning. I got to do this housekeeping item. Shout out to the hottest DJ on this stage, my son, DJ Trail. Shout out. And to my best friend of long-standing 55 years, right, Scott? Man, we've been friends for 55 years. He tells the story that when we were young, I stole his bologna sandwiches, but I told him I really didn't steal them. He was rich. They had mayonnaise and I had mustard. So that's where our bologna sandwiches came from, but we've been friends forever. But it's amazing how God brings your journey full circle. We've been friends for over 50 years, and it is a pleasure and joy to watch what he is doing all across this nation. Give it up for Mr. Scott X. Esdale. Good friend. Good friend. Several years ago, he invited me to Newark, New Jersey. And it was Newark, New Jersey, where I had the opportunity to see the great debate live and in person. And I wasn't a president then, but I said, Scott, if I ever became a college president, wherever I go, I want you to bring this to my campus. And that's the kind of friend he is. And that was you started that how many years ago? 12 years ago. And 12 years later, we're here on the campus of Livingstone College. Why Livingstone College? Our ancestors in 1879 gave birth to an audacious idea. What made that idea so audacious was the fact that here a group of people coming up out of slavery in a time and a climate where reading and writing, if you were African American, was a crime. But they had an audacious idea that they were going to start a school for their children and their children's children. Shout out to all of you who are sitting here today. They envision all of you sitting in the seats you're sitting in today because they planted crops that they would never harvest. They dug wells that they would never drink from. They built bridges that they would never cross so that you could cross them. Can we give a round of applause to our ancestors for that vision? So why Livingstone College? Think about 1930. Professor Melvin P. Tolson is his name at Wiley College. Pulled together a group of debaters and it put HBCUs on center stage because back then they didn't think that we had the intellectual capacity to go head to head with the top universities in the country. But guess what? Because of that leadership, his leadership, they beat schools like Harvard. They beat schools like Harvard. They beat schools like Harvard that said we didn't have the intellectual capacity. So on the campus of Livingstone College, we're bringing the great debate here because we want to be more than the institution known for turning up. We want to be that relevant, that responsive, but better yet, that respected HBCU. Because now we want to use this platform to do what the platform has always done. Promote research, promote rhetoric, intellectual capacity. And that's what we're doing on the campus of Livingstone College. So on behalf of my good friend of long standing, Dr., soon to be doctor at some point, Mr. Scott Esdale, and to our two debate teams that they're gonna give us the best in debating today. Let's hear it for our schools, Hampton and Howard, premier HBCUs. Let's give them a round of applause. Come on, LC, let's give them a good Blue Bear welcome. So this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Scott X. Esdale, and we're going to let the debate begin. I want to thank all of you for coming. Shout out to the Livingstone College Royal Court SGA. You're in the building. Why don't you stand and be recognized? Members of the senior leadership team, why don't you stand and be recognized? To all of our students and community guests, why don't you stand and be recognized?
All the visiting students, please stand.
All right. And while we have him at the podium, come on, let's give it up for Mr. Scott X. Esdale.
Thank you, Mr. President. Did y'all see the football game last night? Did y'all see Usher? He stole all those moves from Dr. Davis. Let's give Dr. Davis another round of applause. Once again, my name is Scott X. Esdale, and I'm the president of the Connecticut NAACP State Conference and a member of the NAACP National Board of Directors. I'm from New Haven, Connecticut, and I'm a lifelong friend of Dr. Anthony Davis. I'd like to thank Dr. Davis and the entire Blue Bear Nation, along with Dr. Jackie Davis, the First Lady of Blue Bear Nation. Let's give a round of applause, please stand. For hosting this debate between Hampton and Howard University. The NAACP has embraced the legacy of the original great debate and resurrected it to inspire a new generation of future great debaters. The goal is for this movement to catch fire and continue for many years, inspiring students to engage in intellectual competition. After watching the movie, The Great Debaters, I was inspired to use my skills and experience as a boxing commissioner and somebody who is deeply involved in the sports and entertainment industry. With my background in promotion, advertising, marketing, television, fundraising, and business development, I wanted to create opportunities for debaters to showcase their talents in front of crowds that are equal to those in sports and entertainment. Over the last 10 years, we have been working tirelessly to make this vision a reality. We have organized HBCU great debates all over the country. Our goal is to inspire and encourage students to engage in intellectual competition and develop debate teams on their campuses. Please take a moment to watch this video that highlights the incredible work we have done all over the country for a decade or more. It showcases the impact we have made and the potential we have to create a lasting legacy for future debate teams in this nation. Please take a look at the video.
In 2007, Denzel Washington directed and starred in the movie The Great Debaters. The movie was geared towards showcasing the intellectual excellence of historical black colleges and universities, also known as HBCUs. The movie The Great Debaters focused on a fictitious battle between HBCU Wiley College and Ivy League Harvard University. Wiley College only lost one debate out of 75 from 1929 to 1939. The legacy of debating at HBCUs and the Ivy League date back to the late 1800s and early 1900s. In the spirit of the movie The Great Debaters, the Connecticut NAACP, under the leadership of President Scott X. Esdale, has embraced the legacy of the great debate and resurrected a movement that has caught fire across the nation. In 2009, during the NAACP's 100th anniversary, the NAACP organized its first debate at the historic Woolsey Hall on Yale University's campus, with close to 3,500 people in attendance, as Yale's debate team debated against Howard University. Since that time, President Scott X. Esdale has organized debates in front of record crowds. We have organized 2 debates at Woolsey Hall with the capacity close to 3,500 attendees, 3 debates at the Schubert Theater in New Haven, Connecticut, with crowds close to 2,000 people, 3 debates at the First Cathedral in Bloomfield, Connecticut, with crowds close to 4,000 in attendance. One debate at the Webster Bank Arena with a record 8,400 people in attendance, and 10,000 people in attendance at the Excel Center in downtown Hartford, Connecticut, celebrating the Connecticut NAACP's 10th anniversary of hosting great debates. Over the last decade, we have had several prominent debate teams participate with the NAACP debates, including Howard University, Morehouse College, Hampton University, Wiley College, Columbia University, Princeton University, Yale University, and Harvard University. Also, over the last decade, President Scott X. Esdale has been asked to organize debates across the country in cities such as Seattle, Washington, Houston, Texas, New York City, Washington, D.C., Newark, New Jersey, and many more. The debates have also received support from many sponsors, such as Foxwoods, Walmart, Starbucks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Yale University, Uber, Lyft, Knights of Columbus, WTNH, DoorDash, and Amazon. The HBCU Great Debate Tour would like to thank President Anthony Davis for hosting this historic debate at Livingstone College between Hampton and Howard. The HBCU Great Debate Tour is geared toward inspiring and organizing new debate teams on HBCU campuses. After this debate, we plan to organize a debate team here at Livingstone College. If you are interested in participating, please sign up at the registration table in the lobby. We'd like to thank the entire leadership team at Livingstone College: Dr. Davis, Dr. McNair, Dr. Parrish, and their staff. We'd like to thank both debate teams, the debate coaches, sponsors, and Livingstone students, and all faculty for supporting the Great Debate Tour. Welcome to the Great Debate HBCU Tour 2024 with Hampton University versus Howard University. We ask all to enjoy one of the most entertaining intellectual competitions in the nation. Thank you for your attendance and enjoy the debate.
Is everybody all right? Come on, Livingstone. Hopefully we're not putting you guys to sleep. But now we're going to actually get ready to start the debate. We will now introduce both of the debate teams. If the debate teams could please get prepared to enter the stage. You will now take a look at the video and the introduction of the debate teams.
Welcome to the Great Debate Hampton versus Howard 2024. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I present our debaters. Give a round of applause for the Howard debate team. Julian Siska from Chicago, Illinois. Robert Kelly from Roosevelt, New York. Shelby Brunson from Orlando, Florida. Charlie Jackson from Houston, Texas. round of applause for Howard debate team. Give a round of applause for the Hampton debate team. Alina Thottam from Long Island, New York. Philip Haney from Reedville, Virginia. Ariana Neal from Detroit, Michigan. Stephen Shields from Hackensack, New Jersey. Round of applause for Hampton debate team. Ladies and gentlemen, the great debate, Hampton versus Howard 2024.
Let's give a round of applause to both debate teams. Remember this, Livingstone, you all are next. We're here to motivate you all and to inspire you to start a debate team here at Livingstone College. We want to see you all debating against some of the top students, not only in HBCUs, but all over this nation and around the world. We will now bring up Dr. DeTarvia Parrish. Dr. DeTarvia Parrish, who will be our moderator. Please check out the video.
Dr. Parrish is a rock star professor at Livingstone College in North Carolina. She's developed the honors program and is all about education and making sure her students succeed. But she's more than just a professor. She's a superhero in the community also. She's given lectures and workshops on interesting topics and is a true champion for education. In her free time, she loves volunteering with the youth summer programs nationwide. Dr. Parrish has received numerous awards and recognition for her outstanding contributions and is a trailblazer in academics and the community. She's the president of the National Association of African American Honors Programs and a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. But don't let her impressive resume intimidate you. She's a down-to-earth person and loves spending time with her daughter. Dr. Parrish has been chosen to start and organize the new debate team at Livingstone by Dr. Anthony Davis, the president of Blue Bear Nation. Now, let's all give a round of applause to Dr. Parrish, the rockstar professor and champion of education that will be the moderator for the HBCU Great Debate Tour at Livingstone College between Hampton and Howard University.
Good morning, Livingstone College. Good morning. This is the 2024 HBCU Tour of the Great Debate between the Pirates of Hampton University and the Bison of Howard University. Let the debate begin. Please have a seat, our scholars. Let's give them a hand. You should know, today the scholars of Hampton and Howard will showcase the parliamentary style debate. What is parliamentary? I'm glad you asked. Imagine yourself a member of the parliament. Now, I see some of you nodding your head. No, not the Parliament Funkadelic Band. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean the British House of Parliament in the United Kingdom. The affirmative team, or the team for the resolution, is the government. And the first speaker for the affirmative team is the Prime Minister. The second speaker for the affirmative team is a member of the government. The team negating or against the resolution is the opposition. The first speaker for the negative team is the leader of the opposition. The second speaker is member of the opposition. By definition, a parliamentary debate is a formal contest that involves critical analysis and rhetorical skills. Today, you will witness the competitiveness that emphasizes logical, analytical, critical thinking, and argumentation.
Another term that's critical during parliamentary style debate is points of information, or POI. POIs are a feature of parliamentary debate because it allows the opposing team member to offer or interject with a brief question during the opposing team's presentation. Generally, the procedure for offering a POI includes the opposing team member stands to offer the POI, uttering a phrase such as point of information or gesturing towards the speaker. The speaker then either accepts or declines the POI or offers to accept it at the end of their sentence. If accepted, the debater who offered the POI may interject with a point, a question, or a statement. This interjection has a time limit. It must occur within 15 seconds or less, and the speaker may actually cut the interjector off at any point. However, the speaker must immediately answer the following the interjection. So, we will begin. Our question 1, our subject matter is political action. Again, the subject matter is political action, an action that uses political power or activity in political channels to achieve a goal. Our timekeeper is Justin Alexis. Mr. Alexis, please stand. Thank you, Mr. Alexis. The timekeeper will inform you with a fist of 30 seconds left in time and a hand signal for 10 remaining seconds. Again, right. Our resolution is any persons engaged in an insurrection against the United States of America should be banned from holding an elected office. The resolution reads, any person engaged in an insurrection against the United States of America should be banned from holding an elected office. The Prime Minister of Hampton University, present your constructive at the microphone. Your time is 4 minutes.
Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry. I said good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Thank you. I'm glad we have an active audience today. I hope everybody has had a great start to their day, and we're glad you can join us on this Monday morning. I would like to give you all a warm Hampton University welcome to the Great Debate.
Go Pirates!
My teammates and I would like to thank Howard's debate team for agreeing to debate with us. We would like to thank Mr. Esdale and the Connecticut NAACP for sponsoring this event, Dr. Parrish for moderating, Livingstone College for being a gracious host, and last but not least, you in the audience, both in person and online. Now, with the greetings out the way, now will begin my time. My name is Stephen Shields, and I'll be presenting the affirmative argument for the resolution. Any persons engaged in an insurrection against the United States should be banned from holding an elected office. My definitions for the terms in the resolution are as follows. Engaged, participate or become involved in. Insurrection, a violent uprising against an authority or government. It's important to note that insurrection implies a want for radical change to or overthrowing of the government. Should be is defined as obligated to. Banned is defined as prohibited. Holding is defined as to have as a privilege or position of responsibility. And elected office is defined as a position in government in which one is duly elected. My partner and I will affirm the resolution with the following 3 contentions. Contention 1, insurrections have historically been a method of enacting violence against Black Americans. According to Sid Goldston, former president of the National Council of Social Studies, many insurrections in the United States were directly caused by vicious racism. The vast majority of examples of insurrections in the United States have disproportionately harmed Black Americans, and it's been another way for racist white supremacists to enact racialized violence. For example, we could talk about the Memphis and New Orleans insurrections of 1866, where former Confederates who were angered by the competition for work from former slaves often attacked and killed many who were trying to peacefully protest for their equal rights and legal rights to work. Another example is in Wilmington in 1988, where 2,000 white supremacists threw officials out of office and destroyed black businesses, and up to 300 people were killed. Another example is the Ocoee insurrection of 1920, where a white supremacist mob attacked black people for exercising their right to vote. Even in modern day, we could pull examples from January 6th, where we saw individuals who were unhappy with the result of a presidential election storm the Capitol in a violent manner. They even walked the halls with the Confederate flag, a feat not even accomplished by the Confederate Army back during the Civil War. It's important to note that these insurrectionists often have a lot of the same mindset and the same goals. And by putting these people into office, potentially, we can harm the future of our nation greatly. Contention 2. No, declined. Contention 2. The Constitution does not protect insurrectionists. Engaging in violent uprisings are an explicit exception from the First Amendment. We see in Bradenburg v. Ohio, advocacy of law-breaking or violence is unprotected speech, as is violence in itself. There are plenty of examples of successful, peaceful protests, and the Constitution, explicitly the First Amendment, advocates for your right to peacefully protest. But violence is not within that category, and so insurrection is not within that category either. Even in the 14th Amendment, the disqualification clause disqualifies individuals who have engaged in insurrection from holding an elected office, and it states, no person shall be a senator, representative in Congress, elected official, or elector of president or vice president, or hold any office having engaged in insurrection against the same or giving aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. I mean, I just said it, right? The proof is in the pudding. The Constitution explicitly states that those who engage in insurrection are prohibited from holding elected office in the states. And I mean, it's not just there for show. It has been used to prevent Confederates, and most recently, a January 6th insurrectionist from holding elected office, and should be used to bar other insurrectionists from holding office. Contention 3. Allowing insurrectionists to continue to run for elected office does more harm than good for America today. It is no secret that white supremacy is a massive threat to American democracy today. We've seen with the Charleston church shooting. We see with Charlottesville and the Unite the Right. We see many different in the Buffalo shooting, where there was a shooter who had a manifesto against African Americans. We see time and time again that white supremacy is a problem, and it's important to understand that these are the same ideologies that we saw all the way back into the Civil War, and back all the way, and even now in January 6th. It's important to understand that if January 6ers got their way through elected office, history has shown what that would mean for Black Americans. Thank you.
Leader of the opposition for Howard University, present your constructive at the microphone. Your time is 4 minutes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie Jackson. Before I begin my speech, I'd like to issue a blanket of gratitude across the room. First and foremost, thank you to the NAACP and Scott Edsdale for putting on such an amazing event. I'm showcasing the sport that's been a part of my life for the past 8 years, and I hope it encourages you all to get active and involved and have your own speech and debate team. Thank you to Livingstone College for you guys hosting us here today and being willing to hear our arguments and willing to see this sport. And then thank you to Hampton University for being willing to come and engage in this discussion with us. And then also thank you to my team for helping me and supporting me throughout this whole process. With that being said, my time begins now. Resolved. Any persons engaged in insurrection in the United States should be banned from holding an elected office. We stand in firm negation of that resolution. We believe the definition that the affirmative team have provided are good for this round, and we will flow with them. But we want to ask you guys to weigh this very important value in this round. Who best upholds democracy? Affirmative World gives you this beautiful picture about all of these racist things and how systemic racism is a real problem, and insurrections have been used as a principle for that. The problem is that systemic racism still exists. So the people implementing these bans or banning people from running for office will be those who perpetuate a system of systemic racism, and that is a problem that we're going to address for in our case. Our first contention: citizens have the right to run for office. Being able to step up and represent your community is an enumerated privilege that everyone has the right to do. Furthermore, you're setting a dangerous precedent. An insurrection can have a positive ramification. The context that we don't call it the American insurrection, but we call it the American Revolution, says weight and has weight. Had Section 3 of the Insurrection Act that they bring you guys been in place then, a lot of your founding fathers who were part of the Revolutionary War would have been in jail, would not have been able to run for office and represent the citizens who wanted to be free from Britain. And that right there is a point on our side, and saying that there could be positive ramifications. Then second point there, by setting such a high standard, we are setting a dangerous precedent for future change. Change can't happen if we can't go go out and have advocation for a change. Our point under that, we have rehabilitation. The justice system provides a check for violent offenders and the things that bring all this violence, all these problems. The justice system solves for that. Those people will be in prison, and they will not be allowed to run for office. Once they get out, once they have been rehabilitated, then there is a space for them to run for office. There is a space to evaluate and give the people the choice to decide if they want them to be in office. Bringing us to our second contention. Citizens have the right to vote for who they want to. You have that choice. The government should not tell you who can and cannot be on the ballot because they're limiting your ability to do that. The cornerstone of democracy is giving citizens the ability to choose their elected officials. The right to vote freely for the candidate of one's choice is the essence of a democratic society. Any restrictions on that right strike at the heart of a representative government. Reynolds v. Sims from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is already telling us that that is your democratic right, that is your voice, and that is your opinion, and you should have the ability to vote for who you want for. Team Affirmative is telling you that you don't get to do that. Team Affirmative is telling you the government gets to pick and choose who's on that ballot, so you never get the choice to vote for who you want to in the first place. This brings me to our third contention, disparate impact. So they tell you this whole idea of Congress provides a check, how we need to, there's systemic racism, Congress provides a check. They say we don't want people in office who have all these systemic racist ideals. They're in office. After January 6th, we see Representatives Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, Scott Perry, and Andy Biggs still in office after the January 6th committee said they were a part of the insurrection. The people who are in office are going to be the ones dictating whether or not who can be on the ballot, and that is problematic. That's why they should not have that power. And that goes into our second point onto that the historical implications of this. The historical implications of any time a law or a standard has been set in place for one good reason to protect democracy has ultimately harmed minority communities. We can look to all of these voter registration and laws were impacted in the beginning of the year. The whole ideology behind the Republicans saying was that they wanted to protect the democracy. They wanted to protect the democracy. That's why they're making it where you have shorter poll lines, where you can't go out. You have to have certain IDs. You have to have certain things. You can't mail in your ballot to protect democracy. What ultimately ends up happening is minorities can't vote at the same rate that they used to, and that is problematic. And such a law or such a ban as they're implementing will only negatively impact black and brown people when you already have those people in office who have systemic racist ideals. Furthermore, we can look to another example. There was an investigation in which there was students who were protesting were banned and were fined and jailed on the law that was implemented to banish and to prevent the Ku Klux Klan from distributing recruitment materials in newspaper. What this shows us is in the past we have seen laws that have been implemented to put a check on members like the KKK and be an issue. And for all of these reasons, we stand in firm negation of this resolution. Thank you.
Member of the government of Hampton University, present your constructive at the microphone. Your time is 3 minutes.
All right, I want to start off by addressing some of Howard's points and then circling back to our own contentions. Let's start off with George Washington as an insurrectionist. First, we would like to say this lacks topicality. The United States did not exist at the time that this was happening. And let's bring it back to the resolution. We're talking about the United States of America. Even if we were to entertain the ideology, how far are we adopting founder father ideology? There is no colonial power dominating over us today. And George Washington is the same man that owned slaves. Are we taking all his ideas as relevant to the debate about insurrection when we're talking about January 6th rioters? Secondly, the insurrection clause, they are claiming that the insurrection clause will unfairly impact black Americans and talking about voting rights. We were talking about insurrectionists holding office, and it has been used to prevent Confederates from running for elected office. It has been used to prevent January 6ers from running for elected office. So they have no decline. They have no examples of how the insurrection clause has been used to impact black Americans, and they're talking about voting rights. Next. So they said that racists are already in office. So our solution is to let more racists into office? How does that make any sense if we're trying to stop systemic racism? So let's circle back to our three contentions, which have yet to be disproven. Insurrections have historically been a method of enacting violence against black Americans. The Constitution does not protect insurrectionists, and allowing insurrectionists to continue to run for elected office does more harm than good. And we need to remember why we're talking about this topic today in 2024. It's because of the insurrection that took place on January 6, 2021, and the subsequent action to bar Donald Trump from running for presidential office. We are talking about the rise of right-wing ideology and people storming the Capitol on a claim with no basis. The January 6th insurrections are tied to organizations like the Proud Boys, who played key roles in the insurrection, engaging in numerous acts of destruction and violence, assaulting members of law enforcement, and leading groups of insurrectionists. Their ideology can be encompassed with the following terms: neo-fascist, militant, white supremacist, misogynistic, Islamophobic, transphobic, and anti-immigration, per the ADL. Do you want those Proud Boys in office? I don't. And I want to remind the audience that the resolution says insurrections, period. All insurrections, not the ones we like. And we could debate what an insurrection is all day, and we don't have to agree. But we have won this debate simply on the basis of weighing harms between the affirmative and negative worlds. We should be able to agree on two things. Those that stormed the Capitol on January 6th are insurrectionists, and two, those white supremacists who overthrew the government at Wilmington and participated in racialized violence in Memphis, New Orleans, and Ocoee are insurrectionists. If Howard disagrees with those two facts, they are disagreeing with thousands of legal scholars and historians. In the world Howard is advocating for, those very same people would be able to run for elected office. Now I ask the audience, do you want to live in that world?
Member of the opposition for Howard University, present your constructive at the microphone. Your time is 3 minutes.
I'd like to extend the same blanket of thanks as my opponent, and let's debate. So my opponents are talking about the constitutional amendment within the resolution, but I would like to point out specifically that the resolution says that any person engaged in an insurrection. That directly expands what the constitutional says. It's no longer people that are in office that are taking that oath. It is now any person who was at the insurrection or anywhere near there. So that's something that we should keep in mind. And I'd also like to point out that racists are in office. The insurrectionists are in office. We're talking about this disparate impact, and I would like you guys to recognize who's being impacted. My opponent has failed to adequately address our main point about what team best upholds democracy. We've dictated in expansive ways who actually dictates this argument. So let's begin by talking through their case. They're talking about how we have a lack of topicality, but I'd like you to recognize that they're talking about these colonies and how there's these lack of colonies. The United States is a neo-colonial power. It's a neo-colonial power that actively harms its citizens in the United States. And that's something that we should be able to fight against. That is something that we should be able to actively protect our rights against. So just about that, about who is harming. We're talking about keeping these January 6ers out of office, but the legislation will harm black and brown people. We've shown that. We've described the different legislative history where black people were harmed. And she's discussing the Proud Boys and these other things, but it's clear that these far-right activists have not faced consequences of state repression at the level that different protesters and marginalized communities have. This is on display anytime anti-fascist demonstrators are assaulted with tear gas, while January 6ers are allowed to roam free. We are seeing this disparate impact. We stand on HBCU grounds. Now, you guys tell me, who is impacted by this legislative history? Who would be impacted? Who are the any persons? The any persons are black and brown people. The any persons are black and brown people. Do not let the institute gaslight you. Do not let the institute ignore from who is being harmed by this democratic principle. Who's being harmed is black and brown people. It is marginalized communities. So let me go back to our third contention about historical impacts and just show you why it's on topicality. Because black and brown communities are being impacted, because that's where the harm is. We must uphold democracy for that point. We must uphold democracy for black and brown people. Thank you.
Member of the opposition, constructive 3 minutes for Howard University. You may present your rebuttal at the microphone. Your time is 3 minutes.
All right, let's get right into it. My time starts now. So a big picture of this debate is the Team Affirmative paints you a world of where there are tons of racists roaming the streets, tons of racists and problems, and they're causing all these insurrections. These are the people who we don't want to be in office. We're gonna stop them from being in office by expanding the 14th Amendment. We tell you that they're already there. We tell you that they give you these ideas of January 6th and that Congress prevented those people from running, but they didn't. The reason that Donald Trump is still on the ballot is because they didn't enact the 14th Amendment. So you're telling me that people who already won't enact the 14th Amendment are going to continuously, in the future, do the same for other insurrections who have similar views to them? No, they're going to agree. They're going to say they're right. So guess what? We're not going to hold you accountable. You're going to still run for office. And we tell you that's going to directly harm the black and brown communities because in the end, laws like that have only disproportionately impacted us. Laws like that have been set out to protect democracy, only harm us. So overall, this debate comes down to 3 primary questions, and the value being upholding democracy. The question is, who has the bigger harm of systemic racism, who best upholds democracy, and who will be harmed the most? We tell you that Team Affirmative has the bigger harm of systemic racism because these people are already in office. They're perpetuating, they're picking these laws, they're choosing these laws, and they will be enacting these bans on people who have different ideologies as is. My party gives you the Antifa example, and that example in itself shows you when they didn't agree with their ideology, what did they do? Tear gas, rubber bullets. And so what happens when you're able to ban them from the ballot and ban those ideologies? It's only going to harm black and brown communities. So we went on that argument. The second part, who best upholds democracy? We are advocating for your right to run for an office. We're advocating for your right to choose who you want to be in office. We're best upholding democracy. They feed you this whole idea of the 14th Amendment and how that's already set in stone. No, Team Affirmative is advocating for expanding the 14th Amendment to not only just upholding and protecting and holding accountable actual elected officials, but holding you to that same standard as an elected official, and that is a problem that we are advocating against. And the third and final question is, who will be harmed the most? We tell you time and time again, it will be the black and brown communities harmed the most because we see in countless times in our current system, in our current polarized state, the laws being enacted are harming black and brown communities. So the people who are making these laws, such as voter suppression laws and all these things that we previously discussed, are going to negatively impact black and brown communities. And so we take you back down the flow, and we take you back down their contentions. They give you the idea of the history of violence protests against black Americans, and we tell you that history is still impactful now, and that is why we should not be giving Congress and the government this power. They tell you that the 14th Amendment is already laid out for you. We tell you that it's an expansion of the 14th Amendment that they're advocating for, and that's why that doesn't stand in this round. They tell you it does more harm than good. We tell you that's not true because they give you all of these harms. They give you figurative harms of what could happen. We tell you that the figurative harms they're giving you are already happening because those people are already in office, and that is a problem that we solve for on our side by advocating for more people, more voices being included in the discussion and not outcasting certain perspectives just because they don't agree with them. And for all of these reasons, we ask you guys to think strong and hard about who's best advocating for your democracy, who's best advocating for your voice, and the current state of our government, who's best going to benefit you. And for all of those reasons, we strongly advocate for a negative ballot. Thank you.
The Prime Minister of Hampton University, present your rebuttal at the microphone. You have 3 minutes.
Before I begin, again, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Thank Howard for putting on a great debate. We're very encouraging and very excited for the opportunity to showcase this to you and to introduce you guys to what debate is all about. And again, very thankful for you guys being here. Again, thankful for all the people who've helped us put this together. But let's put Howard to bed, shall we? So, let's think about the question that Howard has said the most. Who will be harmed the most? They said this, I can't even tell you how many times. Who will be harmed the most? I want you to think about that as I talk. They continue to say that black and brown people are disenfranchised by laws that the government has enacted. And they haven't pointed to anything, really. I understand that we all know that African Americans have been disproportionately affected by laws in our government today. But we pointed to the fact that the disqualification clause will bar people who have Confederate ideologies, who are January 6th insurrectionists, from being in office. So you're telling me that in the question of who will be most harmed, we have Confederates who are not allowed to run for office right now, and the answer is to let them run for office? I don't know what they were thinking with this, honestly. It doesn't make much sense in the long run. That will even more hurt African Americans and black and brown people in general. And it's important to understand this point. It's critical to their argument that at the end of the day, they want to get rid of the idea that you should be able to vote for whoever you want to. And we're not saying you shouldn't, but it's important to take note of the people who are running in your elections and people who have advocated for your rights to be taken away. Again, this falls back to Confederates and January 6ers. Then they had no actual examples, and we stated before, in the context of the United States, Black Americans have led historically nonviolent protests. And all of a sudden, why can't these people do the same? We have, as African Americans, continuously have to fight for our rights peacefully and to do it properly. And now to allow insurrectionists, Confederates, to do it violently and run for office absolutely makes no sense. This debate ultimately rests on how we view insurrectionists in this country. We have already proven to you that the insurrections have historically marginalized Black Americans in values and real damage. We have proven that the Constitution explicitly states that insurrectionists are barred from holding office. And we have proven that insurrectionists holding office will be detrimental to the health and prosperity of this nation and its people. Negative is arguing that the representatives who have been elected to represent you should stand and stand next to the people who just tried to kill them just 3 short years ago and also hold Confederate ideologies that would disparage you today. This is nonsense. Individuals have carried the Confederate flag through the halls of one of the most important buildings in our nation's history. This should not be allowed, and they should not be allowed to run up for office. Our ancestors and past leaders, such as Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and many, many others, are looking upon this great debate and scoffing upon the notion that individuals who hold beliefs so strongly against our people would even be in the position to control our political outcomes today. Again, I'll repeat that question that you heard so greatly and so many times. Who will be harmed the most? I think the question is clear. Allowing Confederates to run for office, allowing insurrectionists to run for office would negatively impact Black people the most. Thank you.
Well, this concludes the first half of our debate. Let's give both teams a well-deserved round of applause as they come in the center to please meet and shake hands, those two who were debating. It sounded like a little pent-up aggression to me. What about you all, huh? Don't worry, I see Salisbury Academy and Greystone Day School looking a little nervous. Don't worry. Howard and Hampton are seasoned debaters. They know these rules, they understand these rules, and they live by these rules. Indeed, today, we have witnessed competitiveness that emphasizes logical analysis, argumentation, and quick thinking. Are you ready for the second subject, ladies and gentlemen? All right? For the second subject, Howard University has chosen to take the side of the affirmative and will present first. The subject matter is criminal justice. The subject matter, again, is criminal justice. Criminal justice is an umbrella term that refers to the laws, procedures, institutions, and policies at play before, during, and after the commission of a crime. As a modern concept, criminal justice expresses 2 central ideas. One is suspects, convicted criminals, and victims of crime all have certain rights. And 2, criminal conduct should be prosecuted and punished by the state who is governed and follows the set laws. Our resolution today is: the House believes the use of song lyrics for criminal prosecution is unconstitutional. I will repeat. The House believes the use of song lyrics for criminal prosecution is unconstitutional. The Prime Minister of Howard University, present your constructive at the microphone. Your time is 4 minutes.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say thank you for all of you for being here. Thank you to Livingstone College for hosting us. This has been a great trip. It's our first time in North Carolina, but this has been amazing. Thank you to the NAACP and Mr. Scott Esdale for putting on these debates. He never fails. All of these debates are amazing, so I hope that you guys get a team at Livingstone College, and if you ever need help, please call Howard University. And with that, we'll start our time. In 2023, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of rap and hip hop, and instead of appreciating all the contributions that our artists made to culture and to history, we're seeing our favorite rappers like Young Thug and Gunna get hit with RICO cases and the criminalization of the very art that we've learned to love and embrace. The American Civil Liberties Union writes that in almost every case where music lyrics were used as evidence, the defendant was black or Latino. Bias against rap is merely bias against black people. And it's because Howard University understands the importance of protecting our artists and protecting our community that we stand in affirmation today that this house believes the use of song lyrics for criminal prosecution is unconstitutional. And since we're discussing the Constitution and we're discussing the law, everybody should vote for the team that they believe upholds the most constitutional principles and legal principles. And today my partner and I are going to show you why song lyrics shouldn't be used in court, because it violates your First Amendment right, it violates your Sixth Amendment right, it violates your 14th Amendment right, and Hampton's position is going to destroy black art, black music, and our community as a whole forever. Let's talk about the first contention and your First Amendment. One of the first things that you learn about in school is about your right to freedom of speech. That means that you can express yourself and use words freely without the fear of that being used against you. Everybody in this room has that right. And we all know that artists use that right to put it into their music. It's a form of creative and artistic expression, but unfortunately, that right is being taken away from our community and our rappers. Dr. Owusu Bempa writes that the genre of rap is rich in figurative language, metaphor, symbolism, and exaggeration. Just think about your favorite rappers. I'm sure we all love some crazy lines. But we're seeing that, unfortunately, this is only being held against the black community. We're only seeing this as an attack on hip-hop. Emerson Sykes, staff attorney with the American Civil Liberties Union, writes that if song lyrics could be used as evidence in criminal trials, think about all the famous artists in history that would be in trouble. Bob Marley's song, I Shot the Sheriff. The white rock band, the Talking Heads, has a song called Psycho Killer, and literally Queen's first line to their most famous song is Mama Just Killed a Man. All of these artists use their First Amendment right to make their songs, but you know who doesn't get to do that anymore? Rappers and black people. Why? Because of the bias against us. That's one reason to stand with Howard today. Now, let's move into our second argument, how all of this violates your Sixth Amendment right. So the Sixth Amendment is what allows you to have a right to a speedy and public trial, your right to have a lawyer, and your right to have an impartial and fair jury in that trial. And that's exactly where the second violation comes in on Hampton's side. The usage of song lyrics in court only goes to biased juries, and it's an attack on rap and hip-hop. They actually did a study in the book Rap on Trial with social psychologist Carrie Freed. They took lyrics from a song that talked about shooting a deputy. They told one group of people that it was from a rap song. They told one group of people it was from a country song. You wanna know what they said? When it was a country song, it was acceptable and it was just music. When it was a rap song, it was dangerous and offensive. And that's exactly what Young Thug has to deal with every day that he goes into court. Think about that. His name is Jeffrey Williams, and instead of going to court every day defending himself as Jeffrey Williams, they bring up his name, Young Thug. But little did they know that Thug means truly humble under God. We all know that this is just an attack on our art and our community. And finally, let's talk about the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was passed to ensure that black people had all the same rights as any citizen in the United States. That meant that Young Thug, with his First Amendment right, was able to create the song Lifestyle and was able to drop that song. But unfortunately, now prosecutors are using this thing called RICO against us. They can say that if they think we're a part of some organization, they can charge us for all those crimes. That's how they're trying to take away Young Thug's First Amendment right. But at least he has the Sixth Amendment, right? He can go to court and defend himself. No, they're going to try to contextualize him as Young Thug, show his lyrics to the jury so that they can indict him. That's not real evidence. This debate is very simple today, guys. If we allow song lyrics to be used in court, they're going to criminalize our art, criminalize our people, and take away our freedoms. Stand with Howard today in affirmation. Thank you.
Leader of Opposition of Hampton University, present your constructive at the microphone. Your time is 4 minutes.
So before I begin my time, again, I'd like to extend thanks on behalf of Hampton to Mr. Esdale and the Connecticut NAACP and Livingstone College for their very warm welcome for the real HU and Howard University. So I'm also happy all the young people I see in this audience here to see this debate. I really love what we do. It's fun and it really gets you thinking. So I really hope that all of you can engage in this if you're interested. And with that, I will begin my time. So today we stand in firm opposition to the resolution that the use of song lyrics for criminal prosecution is unconstitutional. No matter what Howard comes up here to tell you today, that is the only thing they have to prove. So don't forget that word, unconstitutional. We define unconstitutional as not in accordance with the United States Constitution. And we're gonna win this debate for 3 simple reasons. First of all, the Constitution makes no mention of song lyrics or even evidence. 2, the courts agree with us that the use of song lyrics is constitutional. And finally, lyrics can be both factual and relevant. So first of all, the Constitution is silent on this issue, contrary to what my opponents seem to think. There are 7,591 words in the Constitution. Lyrics aren't one of them, or even evidence. There is a national rule book on the standards of evidence that we should use in court, but it's not the Constitution. It's called the Federal Rules of Evidence. Those don't mention lyrics in them either. So where exactly did the Howard side come up with this idea? I think they just made it up. My opponents want to prove that using lyrics as criminal evidence is unconstitutional, but if you read the Constitution, you'll see they have 0 textual grounds to stand on. So, logically, if there's no mention of it, that means there's only one other way they can even win this debate at this point, right? The Supreme Court would just have to agree with them, which is easy enough, except it doesn't. Which brings me to my second point. The courts agree the use of song lyrics for criminal prosecution is constitutional. The Supreme Court has never had a single case where they've ruled it's unconstitutional to use lyrics as evidence in criminal prosecution. Not one in over 220 years of trying cases. State and federal courts have allowed the prosecution to admit a person's lyrics, both spoken and written, countless times. And unlike Howard, who didn't name a single case where this happened, we brought the case receipts. Take United States versus Stuckey in 2007. Stuckey was accused of killing federal witnesses, and he wrote songs where he talked about killing snitches, wrapping them up in blankets, and dumping bodies in the street, which was exactly what he was being accused of doing. So, there are too many cases to count like this, but I'd like to count a few. There's New Jersey versus Koskovich, Holmes versus State, Ohio versus Green, The People versus Spraggins, Daniel v. Lewis, and Iowa versus Deases, just to name a few cases where the courts have upheld lyrics as evidence, point blank, period. You know what the real kicker is? It's that when judges do throw out lyrics as evidence, it's never because they claim it's unconstitutional. The reason is always that the lyrics in question are just bad evidence. You can take New Jersey versus Skinner as a case, for example, or United States versus Jordan, which was a case that was authored by LaShawn D'Arcy Hall, a Howard Law graduate. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's why this debate is already over in 2 contentions. Just ask Howard, where are their case receipts, huh? The Constitution doesn't agree with them. The courts don't agree with them. Their law school alumni don't even agree with them. This case is closed. But I still want to mention one third and final point. We know that lyrics can be factual and relevant sometimes. You know, we talked about Stuckey, but Young Thug right now is being charged with racketeering. He's accused of leading a criminal enterprise called YSL against a rival gang, YFN. You know, this isn't a debate about whether Young Thug is innocent or guilty. This is a debate about what the Constitution says. So lyrics where he raps things like, I shot at his mommy, now he no longer mentioned me, could be evidence of his connection to the shooting of YFN Lucci's mother right before that song was dropped. That's why it was admitted. So, this is about what the Constitution says. So to restate my contentions, the Constitution does not say anything about lyrics or evidence. 2, the courts, state and federal and Supreme agree that it is constitutional. And 3, we know lyrics can be factual and relevant in cases. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to quote a rapper, Nelly. It's getting hot in here. I'm not going to do all of it, though, right? Right? Member of the government of Howard University, present your constructive at the microphone. Your time is 3 minutes.
All right, let's get right into it. We are artists, and we weave together stories to celebrate, entertain, and emblazon, but instead they succumb to the conflation of persecution and prosecution, principality and legality, and my right to exercise my rights to artistic expression should not fall prey to your impression of criminality, and that's what this debate is about. That is our understanding of the resolution today, that this House believes that the use of song lyrics in criminal prosecution is simply unconstitutional. Now, let's talk about my opponent's case and why it doesn't really make much sense until today's case, right? They talk about how the Constitutional makes no reference to lyrics and how the power of the courts. First of all, my partner clearly outlines that the Constitution, we're impeaching our First Amendment rights, our Sixth Amendment rights, and our 14th Amendment rights. Then you got up here and talked about how the courts have power. Excuse me if I'm mistaken, but the courts are biased. The courts are what took Roe v. Wade. The courts are what took affirmative action. So we cannot stand saying the quotes and stand in affirmation with the quotes with the courts because it's simply not true. Then you start bringing up these extreme cases where we're seeing these extreme disparate treatment, but on balance, we're going to see that this is going to negatively harm the black community, and we cannot push away these biases that we're seeing over and over again permeating our criminal justice system. We cannot allow that to stand today. Third, you bring up this further contention about how it's factual and relevant, but we have to pay attention to these biases. We cannot continue to conflate reality with what the actual intention of a song lyric is to do, and that is to entertain, is to bring joy, is to breathe life into communities. If we conflate the intention of a song lyric that has to connect with culture with criminal intentions, we cannot allow that to stand in today's debate, and that simply does not make sense on side negation. So now, don't let Hampton come up here and try to manipulate you. Don't let Hampton Institute try to tell you that we're wrong on this side of the debate, because the legality and the morality of this argument both side with side affirmative. As a matter of fact, let's talk about the affirmative case and why we've more than won today's debate. Our first contention clearly outlines that we have the First Amendment rights to free speech. We have the right to make songs and not have them used against us in the court of law, especially when most of the time they have nothing to do with criminal proceedings in the first place. Song lyrics are artistic expression, and therefore they're constitutionally protected speech. If we set this dangerous precedent that Hampton Institute is recommending, artists would stand to lose their ability to express themselves, and this is wrong. Interpreting a song lyric as a public confession violates our First Amendment in such a profound way, and Howard University is here to stand against it today. Moving on to our second contention, Hampton is trying to minimize the impact that this bias has in our courtrooms. We see this in our Sixth Amendment argument. We clearly outlined a study that clearly shows that there's a bias surrounding rap and hip-hop music in comparison to other genres. We don't see the same disparate treatment in impacted genres like country or heavy metal. So yes, this is an issue of prejudice, and yes, this is an issue of genres that are permeated by black artists, and yes, black artists by extension. So yes, Hampton wants to add to these systematic structures and oppressions. And lastly, in our third contention, we clearly outlined that the 14th Amendment places the burden on the courts to remove all of these barriers of bias and prejudice that can impede on our rights and civil liberties and equal protections under the law, and we stand against it today. We believe that we should not conflate the intention of a song lyric with criminality. We believe that we should minimize the systems and biases that stand against us, and only one side of today's debate affirms that, and not the side Howard University. Thank you.
Member of the opposition of Hampton University, present your constructive at the microphone. Your time is 3 minutes.
All right, good morning, everyone. I want to start by just addressing and correcting a little bit about what we are arguing today. So the affirmative is trying to attack our point of bringing up the Constitution. As you heard my partner mention several cases that support our argument today. They are trying to attack us for using the words Constitution. I'm sorry, the resolution today is about the Constitution. We're talking about what's unconstitutional, what's not. That's our key word here. That's what we're arguing for today. So we cannot argue this without mentioning the Constitution. The affirmative wants to convince you today that using a person's song lyrics as evidence in court is a violation of constitutional rights, First Amendment rights, with an emphasis on the First Amendment rights, excuse me. Well, how can this be when your favorite artists today are still freely writing song lyrics? You're listening to them each and every day. We are not trying to silence anyone. They're not silenced. They also want to convince you that this issue is unnecessary and maybe even prejudiced. And we don't agree with any of this, and nonetheless unconstitutional, which is the only word that we're debating here today. As my partner stated, sometimes a person's lyrics are factual and relevant evidence of real crime. So let's look at this in a different light, because the cases that he's presented for you, such as Stucky and Young Thugs, are not the only examples of this today. So let's take rapper Tay-K, for example. Tay-K and his friends in 2016 attempted to rob a guy, and they shot and killed him in the process. So Tay-K was charged with capital murder and placed on house arrest. And during house arrest, while he was awaiting trial, he cut off his ankle monitor, went on the run. While he was on the run, he allegedly robbed and killed another victim, fled the state he was in, and recorded the hit song The Race, where he bragged about these incidents. He bragged about toting guns and harming these victims, the harm he inflicted on these victims. So let's take a moment to think, what if these victims were someone you loved? What if, God forbid, they're murdered and the perpetrator has the audacity to not only murder, but unapologetically write song lyrics that brag on these things, the harm that they inflicted? I ask you, what if one of these victims were someone you loved? And they admitted to this in a song lyric or a text. And to top it all off, the courts tell you that this hardcore evidence means nothing and that they can't be used against them. Why? Because this is a violation of what their privacy or their rights. This is not a debate about whether or not artists like Young Thug are guilty. It's not about what we would like the Constitution to say or what we think should be used as evidence. It's about the reality. And the only question at hand today, is it unconstitutional to use song lyrics as evidence during criminal prosecution? No, there's nothing unconstitutional about it. Ask, where are their cases to receipts? Where are their receipts to prove this? They have not named one yet. Thank you.
Leader of the opposition of Hampton University, present your rebuttal at the microphone. Your time is 3 minutes.
We told you all from the beginning to remember one word: unconstitutional. The affirmative's one job was to prove that using lyrics as evidence in criminal prosecution is not in accordance with what the Constitution says. They failed to do so on every legal level. I mean, we explained that the Constitution itself just doesn't give lyrics any kind of special privileges in court. The federal rules of evidence don't either. Howard can yip-yap about freedom of speech all they'd like, because they do have the right to. But lyrics that are tantamount to evidence of an actual crime are simply not protected speech. If you confess to crimes in a podcast, confess to crimes in a memoir, in a text message, anywhere else, that is not simply protected speech just because you magically put a beat over it. All of a sudden, we're supposed to pretend that it doesn't have real implications if we can connect it to external evidence? Come on. Okay, we already established our second contention. The Supreme Court, which is the highest authority on the Constitution for 220 years and counting, has never taken the outrageous position Howard came up here to affirm today. The federal courts agree it's constitutional. The state courts agree it's constitutional. They ain't named a single case since they've been up here. Not one. Where are they? Where are the cases that are even trying to appeal to the Supreme Court? They're not there because the arguments for the affirmative side are baseless. That is a fact. They're nowhere. Our criminal justice system is far from perfect, right? It's obvious that most of the crimes that we talk about in the lyrics we consume every day in gangster rap or trap or any other genre are fictitious and not credible evidence of real events. Artists do make art, but there are exceptions to every rule. They admitted themselves that we are talking about extreme cases. Extreme cases fall under the scope of the Constitution. That is the whole point of why we're here today. Lyrics do have evidentiary value when there's external evidence to complement it. They want to conjecture this image that we are just seeking out people who have violent lyrics and prosecuting them. That's not happening at all. If it were, every rapper would be behind bars today. Just look at Tay-K, look at Stucky, look at the people like Gunna who've already pled guilty in the Georgia YSL indictment. This is real stuff. It's not all fun and games once it leaves the studio. I think songwriting can be a tool to express one's innermost feelings. But if people are willing to bear the details of real criminal activity in the studio, they need to be willing to stand on that in the courtroom too and face the heat. Because at the end of the day, your words matter. Putting your words over a beat doesn't magically protect you from the legal consequences of your actions. We won this debate because we came with reasons and receipts, case after case. Where are our opponents' receipts? We've proved that the use of song lyrics for criminal prosecution is constitutional. So I want to finish with one lyric for Howard by the great Lauryn Hill. You might win some, but you just lost one. Thank you.
Prime Minister of Howard University, present your rebuttal at the microphone. Your time is 3 minutes.
Thank you. All right. Well, I'm glad we know where the lawyers that are going to probably put away our favorite rappers are going to come from. They're all coming from the Institute, right? So Hampton comes up here and tells you that today we're here to talk about the Constitution. You want to know what we did? We went and opened up the Constitution. We saw the First Amendment. That says that we have the right to freedom of speech. That is exactly unconstitutional. You take that away from rappers. That's the first violation. Then we kept reading the Constitution. We said, okay, there's the Sixth Amendment. That means that you have a right to an impartial jury. Do rap lyrics mean that you also get that right to that impartial jury? No. That's the second constitutional violation. And then 3, we kept reading. We said the 14th Amendment. Okay, that's when all of these rights extend to black people. That's why Young Thug should be allowed to make his song. That's why Young Thug gets to enjoy all the same rights as everybody else in this country. And we saw that using rap lyrics in court is a violation to that amendment right as well. Those are 3 points. Those are all directly from the Constitution. So don't let them come up here and tell you that we haven't referenced the Constitution at all, because that's exactly what we've been doing. So let's talk about what Hampton has been doing. They take the most extreme cases, right? They talk to you about Tay-K. They talk to you about all of these little nuanced cases that they found. When we know that most of our favorite rappers do not actually kill anybody and don't actually do these things, but they're going to have to pay the price for that. Think about all of your favorite artists who make songs. SZA has a song about killing her ex. Drake talks about killing people all the time. I don't think that any of us really believe any of that. But they have the right to make these songs, and they have the right to say that because of their First Amendment. Don't let Hampton take that away. And then they make this point about, oh, what have the courts decided? What have the courts been ruling? Do we agree with everything that the courts have said? Thank you. That's the point. Obviously, we do not. Don't let Hampton come up here and tell you, oh, just because the courts have said all these things, that's great. Look at everything that the courts do. The courts blocked black people from voting. The courts didn't allow us to build our own cities. The courts took all these things away from us. So don't let them tell you that the courts should be able to rule on that. That is a bad argument. This was a very simple debate. We're here to talk about the Constitution. Howard actually went, read the Constitution, and found you some violations. What did Hampton do? They read it and they said, oh, it doesn't say song lyrics, so I guess we won the debate. That's not how any of this works. At the end of the day, we know that this is an attack against the hip-hop community in particular. I came up here in the first speech and told you that every single time song lyrics are used, it's always a black or Latino person. That I told you about all the bias. And what did Hampton come up here and tell you? Did they deny any of that? Can they tell you that, oh, no, it actually is fair across the board? No. Hampton is going to make all of these problems that we told you about worse today, and that's why you should be standing with Howard. All of our favorite artists and rappers deserve the same rights as anybody else. They don't deserve to be attacked. They deserve to be able to put out music. How come country artists that talk about killing people don't ever have to pay the crime for that? Don't ever go to jail for that? Don't ever have to face the RICO charges because they're not black? It's that simple in today's debate. They're trying to criminalize our art. They're trying to criminalize our community, and that's why you should stand with Howard. We simply told you all the ways that they violate the Constitution in today's debate. And I guess Drake and Meek Mill were right when they said we might just get hit with the RICO. They probably just left Hampton University when they said that. Today, we showed you why you should stand with the affirmative, and we showed you why we are the real HU. HU? Thank you.
My Lord. Well, this is our great debate HBCU tour at Livingstone College for 2024 between Hampton and Howard University. Let's give both of these teams a well-deserved round of applause. Will both of our teams please get up and come to the middle and shake hands, please? We want to thank you today for demonstrating friendly academic competition, undergirded and illuminated with the level of thinking skills that will send all of us back to our spaces, engaging in discursive musings of critical and analytical thoughts processes. We thank you so much. Wow, what a phenomenal job. Let's just give them a hand again. Let's keep this energy, this momentum going. Any and all Livingstone College students who are interested in being a part of something like this, aren't you interested in being a part of something like this? Absolutely. I want you to see Madison Clay in the lobby. She has a QR code for you to scan and sign up for the debate today. All right. Permit me to also recognize our special guests. We have Salisbury Academy. Let's give them a hand. Greystone Day School. Let's give them a hand. East Mecklenburg High. Let's give them a hand. We have someone from Bailey Middle School and Mallet Creek High School. Let's give them a hand. We're going to ask each of our high school visitors to please be sure to stop by our Office of Admissions for Livingstone Colleges outside in the lobby to inquire about all of the wonderful opportunities you can benefit from being a student at Livingstone College, like being a part of its debate team. Let's give that a hand. It's been indeed a pleasure for me to serve as your moderator this morning, and I have learned so much, and I am inspired by the future leaders of our Mosaic world. This match serves as an exhibition where both teams will be recognized for their stellar performances. So without further ado, I want to call Mr. Scott Estelle. Please come to the stage to prepare the awards. And President Davis, President 13, please come up and join Mr. Estelle on stage for awards distribution.
Once again, give the debate teams a round of applause. Once again, this is just an exhibition, and what we're striving to do is motivate a debate team here at Livingstone College. Hopefully you all will work with Dr. Parrish in making this become a reality. What we will do now is give our honors and our awards to the Howard debate team. Will Dr. Davis please give the Howard debate team their trophy? And now we will give the award to the Hampton debate team. Dr. Davis, please give the Hampton debate team their trophy. Could you all come out to the front, please? Could you all please come out to the front? Dr. Parrish, go out in front of them. Let's give our moderator another round of applause. I'd also like to acknowledge a few others. Dr. Lewis from Student Affairs, Ezekiel and Keith Anderson for the sound team, Dexter from the sound team, Miss Rush, and the ushers. Let's give them a round of applause. Also, if we could have the coaches come up. Attorney Angela Minor, the coach of the Howard debate team, please come on up. And the coach of the Hampton team, Dean McCall Davis. Let's give him a round of applause. He's the coach of the Hampton debate team. Come on, Livingstone, give it up for great debate, Howard versus Hampton 2024. We will now ask everyone to stand as we get prepared to close out in prayer.
Gracious God, we thank you now for the opportunities of this day. We thank you for the discussion. Your word says that wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. But in all that getting, get understanding. We thank you, God, for hearing both sides of the argument and that we walk away with something to think about. Bless us, keep us, and strengthen us from this time forward and forevermore. It's in Jesus' name I pray now and thank you. Amen.
Well, now let DJ Trells do his thing. And also, please take the time to take a picture with the great debater.
You go bow for the result, though. Nothing to discuss, cause I did win by default and without any doubt, though. I'm a me happy adult, though. I no go feed the girl, I no go feed the girl insult, though. I'm a mind that's you the talk, though. I put my life into my job and I know I'm in trouble. She manipulate my love, oh. I know holy and I know that get both. Like the Baba Frayo, my ayo, don't cry, yo. I need to go and shadow. 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 Shadow, shadow. I need to go and shadow. I need to go and shadow. I need to go and shadow. Shadow, shadow. Baby, you know that I'm in a choco. Baby, you know that I'm in a choco. Baby, you know that I'm in a choco. Angelina, You dey cool in my temperature. If you call, I go come deliver. I no go fall in your hand never. So now me you could love forever. I'm a cocky no feeble letter. I'm a Angelina. With my Angelina. Oh me all down. Anytime when I see you for the club or the television, your body. Sure you know say the when you carry 50 kill somebody. You know I feel a vibe, you feel a vibe, so baby whine about me. Yeah, and I know you shy, but it's cool when we're making love. On the low, 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 on the low. Got the vibe, my dick start falling like London Bridge. I don't care if I saw you in a magazine.